That's what's going to be going on for right now, okay?
So I'm being treated like a murderer?
Arizona father accused of leaving his 2-year-old daughter in a hot car for hours before she died. All of this while he allegedly was playing video games.
Like a murderer?
Well guys, it seems like we're following a bit of a trend. These last couple of videos have been me talking about people who have openly done terrible things, and then once confronted for doing said things, they act like they've done nothing wrong. And unfortunately, it seems like we are continuing that trend today. Now what we're talking about today is not exactly new. It happened a couple of months ago, but it's news to me, and I figured it would probably be news to a lot of you guys as well. Plus, topics like these can never really be talked about enough, so here we are. Now, if you watch Critical, Penguin Z0, Charlie, whatever you may know him as, this might look familiar because he made a video on this a day or two ago, which might lead some of you guys to think that I wouldn't be making this video if he hadn't made that upload, and, well, yeah, you would be right. Like I said, this is news to me. That's where I heard about this from, but I think this is something that deserves to be talked about more. Earlier this year, a man named Chris Scholtes was charged with murder after leaving his 2-year-old daughter in the back of a hot car for over 3 hours. And while at first this reads like it could just be a terrible accident, a horrible tragedy, it very quickly becomes clear that the word accident has absolutely no business being anywhere near this situation. There's some body cam footage we're gonna look at today, but I want to give you guys some context, some stuff they discovered after the fact, because it really makes every single thing this slimy piece of shit says 10 times worse. Chris Scholtes did not leave his children in a hot car just once. He didn't do it twice. It wasn't a 3-time thing. The investigation into the death of this child discovered that on at least 59 different occasions, this guy left either one or both of his children in the family SUV in Arizona. Why? To go watch porn and play video games. While being questioned by the officers, the guy admitted that he knew his car turned off after 20 or 30 minutes of idling, probably because he leaves his kids in the car all the time, and despite that, he still left his 2-year-old daughter in the back of his car in the middle of the Arizona summer, presumably so he could play video games and jerk off while not having any actual responsibilities as a functioning adult. The child was not discovered until 3.5 hours after he left her in the car, and was only discovered once the mother got home and could not find her kid. The investigation also uncovered that Scholtes had a child from a previous relationship, a 16-year-old daughter, who said that he has been doing stuff like this for years. And all of that is really just scratching the surface. This guy's been documented drunk driving with his children in the car, being addicted to multiple hard substances and exposing his children to them. Not exactly father of the year. And despite of all of that, he still tries to play the victim once the police show up to his house after he effectively murders his own daughter. Now, with all of that in mind, this body cam footage is going to be significantly more frustrating to watch than it already was. It truly baffles me that people like this walk the earth. But with that being said, let's not waste any more time. Let's begin. Please subscribe.
Well, we have a seat somewhere, okay?
What's going on? Why are you with me?
Because we were first responders and we were on scene. When anytime they call us, anything like this happens, they call us.
Christopher Scholtes then talks about his car. It's parked in the driveway. He said he left Parker in it with the AC on, just as he claimed in that 911 call.
The AC was on.
What car was
Are
it?
you guys all here for my MDX?
The one parked
in the
outside?
driveway.
The black one? Okay.
The blue.
No blue.
Are you guys here for me?
We're...
Yeah, we want to do everything we can to help. That's why you have so many of us.
I feel my worst nightmare.
Okay, so I had some trouble finding like the full unadulterated body cam footage of this incident, so I'm having to kind of splice some together. They're all blurred in certain moments, I guess, to protect certain things, but you'll notice a trend throughout this. The only time this guy starts to cry or show any serious emotion is after some indication has been made that he might get in trouble or he might be getting arrested. This guy's child is dead, and he only breaks down into tears after these guys say, "We're here for you." And that will continue.
And what happened today?
We went to go back around and we Stop and get food. No, we didn't stop and get food. We just came home. My daughters were at Elevate with my friend next door. They got home about 2:45 or so, and then we've just been hanging out at home. She was sleeping in the car, and I had the car on. But it has a sensor where every 30 minutes or so it'll turn off if I haven't moved.
So this could be me looking a bit too far into this, but I feel like him saying this is really indicative of him not seeing anything wrong with what he's done. Like, to admit this to a police officer, you've got to really believe that nothing's gonna happen to you, right? I mean, within like a minute of him sitting down to talk with this cop, he admits that he purposefully left her in the car, that he knew the car was gonna turn off, and that he still chose to leave her in the car knowing that. Like, the investigation's done. You've admitted to the crime. I don't think a person who's committed a crime or thinks they've done anything wrong legally is going to say all this.
I swore she was in the house playing with her sisters like she always does. Just been right now. I haven't been doing anything else really around the house. And
What time?
Well, we never do this anywhere, but I'm home, right? Like you're home, you're safe, you're like your kids are home.
I'm sorry this is all going on.
We always park that car in the garage usually, but I just got a Peloton recently, and the Peloton is in the garage now, so that's why it's not even in the garage. But
And how long was she sleeping in the car out there?
I want to say it was no more than 30-45 minutes.
Okay, so two things here. Is this him saying that he usually leaves his kids in the car, but instead of the driveway, the car's parked in the garage? Because that's a whole nother issue. And then two, there's just absolutely no way that 3.5 hours pass and you think it was 30 minutes. Let's say an hour passes and you thought that was 30 or 45 minutes? Sure, whatever. Nobody on the planet is confusing 3.5 hours with 30 minutes passing.
And I don't think their air was off that entire time. I think there was a time in between. I had checked on her last. It was still running. She was still sleeping. And then when I went back out, the car was off.
So as we've discussed, this is complete bullshit. The guy never checked on his daughter, and he was not the one who went out and found her. Like we established earlier, it wasn't until the mother came home that they found her in the car still. Why he feels the need to say any of this after he's admitted to knowing the car is going to turn off and leaving it off and all of that, I don't really understand.
Just to let you know, I don't want to feel like we're intruding, but we're gonna have to stand by with you for a while. All right.
Is there a reason why?
So any death, we have to treat like a crime scene. I know this is extremely difficult for you. This is a normal process that we have to follow through with. I don't want you to be blindsided by anything, but that's what's going to be going on for right now, okay?
So I'm being treated like a murderer?
No.
I just lost my baby.
Not at all. I know that.
I just find all of this behavior so weird. I mean, it's so back and forth. I mean, look, I understand that even considering the fact that this guy is fully responsible for his daughter's death, he's probably still in some shock learning that she's probably not gonna make it. But like, your wife's at the hospital, your daughter that you left in a hot car is there fighting for her life, the police are trying to get you there and you need to grab a quick shower? Like, what? I don't know, I feel like that would be the last thing on my mind in this situation. I'd be wanting to get to the hospital as soon as possible. And then again, crying when they say they have to treat this like a crime scene, and then saying, oh, so I'm being treated like a murderer? Yeah, dude. What do you think this is? How else would you categorize purposefully leaving a 2-year-old kid in a car that you know is going to turn off and get dangerously hot? There's only so many ways to spin it.
We'll be all right. So we can't let you do that right now. We have to stand by with you. Okay? As soon as you can, we will let you know.
You can stay in the room if you want, but I'm going to talk.
I know this isn't easy for you, but the quicker we get this done and finish up, the sooner you can be with your wife. All right?
I'm trying to rinse off
you.
so I can go to the hospital.
I know,
hospital
but
to be with my wife.
we're not going to shower or anything right now. You need to stand by with us.
I don't understand why.
Okay?
It's crazy how this guy is seemingly turning on and off his emotions. He'll be crying hysterically one moment, and then the next moment he's just like, why can't I take a shower? What's wrong with you guys? Just completely straight-faced at the drop of a hat. Looks and sounds like a guy who's annoyed that his order's taken too long at a coffee shop or something. It's like he's only capable of keeping up this act for so long, and then his body just immediately reverts back. Now that's really all the relevant body cam footage from that day. They go back and forth a bit more about getting to the hospital, and it really seems like Chris is not aware of what's coming. Like, sure, he's been told that it's being treated as a criminal investigation, he's being watched, they have to kind of stand by him. I think he understands that much, but I feel like he thinks that maybe that's just standard procedure, it's stuff they just have to do. Because at no point does it seem like he's ever thinking, oh shit, I might go to prison for this. The entire time he seems more annoyed and like inconvenienced than he does worried about going to prison and worried about the fact that he may have killed his daughter. Now after this, he was eventually arrested and charged. His charges at the moment are second-degree murder and child abuse, and he pled not guilty, which seems like a pretty bold move to me. I know most people are not going to plead guilty to murder, but I mean, I don't really know what he's expecting here. The man basically admitted to everything on camera unprompted. This is not going to end well for him, and I'm glad it won't. This is an absolute tragedy, and this should be a reminder to everybody that if you cannot handle the responsibility of having a child, and you are not willing to do everything in your power to do it right and keep them safe, you should not even be entertaining the thought of bringing a kid into this world. Why something was not done sooner when this guy has a pretty extensive history of doing stuff like this is honestly a tragedy of its own. The fact that situations like these always have to come to a head like this for anything to ever be done, it's not exactly inspiring. Well guys, what do you think? What do you think should happen here? Because personally, I feel like second-degree murder is a little lenient. With 59 previous documentations of you leaving your kids in the car, and you knowing that your car shuts off after a while, this should be first-degree murder in my opinion. To be a 2-year-old baby sitting in a hot car for 3.5 hours slowly dying while your deadbeat piece of shit dad sits and jerks off and plays video games, nobody deserves that. This guy deserves to rot in prison for the rest of his life. There's really nothing else that needs to be said. That's what this guy deserves, and I hope it's what he gets. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a like and walk on over to that subscribe button and touch it. It's free. It won't cost you anything. But for now, that's all I have for you today. Bye.